program of today, I am interviewing Dr. Ronald de Bruin, Director of COST Association. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Brenda Rojas, and today we're going to interview Mr. Ronald de Bruin. He's the Director of the COST Actions, a funding program of the European Commission. And we're going to talk about the fundings and scholarships they are having available for people to undertake scientific missions across the European Union. Welcome to my segment, Mr. de Bruin.
Pleasure.
Okay, let's start with the questions. First of all, I would like to know, and the audience as well, who is Ronald de Bruin and what is he passionate about his job the most?
Well, indeed, my name is Ronald de Bruin.
Sorry.
Original Dutch national. And I'm heading the cost administration as director for a bit more than 4 years now. The background, let's say, that I bring is 20 years of experience in the research and innovation arena in Europe. Previous, let's say, responsibilities. I was also director of the EIT, European Institute of Innovation and Technology, and I helped up setting that institute from scratch, same as another EU institute for cybersecurity that was established in Crete. The passion that I have for science is, first of all, to look at things from different perspectives. So I also have a multidisciplinary background. Originally, I'm an electronic engineer. But then I decided to broaden up and look into technology policy sciences. So looking at technological developments from a legal, sociological, economical point of view. And then, yeah, in the end, I ended up doing my PhD in the field of IT and law. So I think I have a pedigree that I can bring to the multidisciplinarity of the actions as well. What I'm really passionate about is people. And sometimes people say, well, what makes you say that? And I always have a mantra. I said, well, science is not so much about technology, although it's important, but it's in the end about people. The people are the ones who make it work. People have the ideas and the creativity, and bringing people together and making progress together. That is really what I'm passionate about, and it goes for the actions as well as our own team. So we perform at our best in serving the community in the end to make sure that the community is in the best possible position to deliver on its scientific impact.
Ah, that's good to know. The second question is, what is exactly COST about and what are its actions referring to?
The short answer is COST is a benefit.
It's curious.
COST is an acronym, as you will understand. It stands for European Cooperation in Science and Technology. Since 1971, we provide networking opportunities for researchers and innovators in order to strengthen Europe's capacity to address scientific, technological, and societal challenges. That is what we are about. We have formulated 3 strategic priorities for the period to come. And the first one is to promote and spread excellence. Second, to foster interdisciplinarity, because if you look at things from different perspectives, you can actually achieve insights that you could not achieve through a monodisciplinary approach. And hopefully that results then in breakthroughs in science. And the last and certainly not least objective is to empower and retain young researchers and innovators. Now we implement our mission by funding bottom-up, excellence-driven, open and inclusive networks, all for peaceful purposes in all areas of science. So we have no, let's say, thematic calls. All proposals in all fields of science are welcome.
So if I understood well, it's similar to some Erasmus program in the term of attracting people across the European Union to develop their capabilities, either studying or getting fundings, but different in the terms of attracting people not only from the European Union, but across the globe, right?
We typically attract people who are active as a researcher or innovator and are already working on the basis of, let's say, national funding. Can also be, of course, funding from other parts of the Horizon 2020 framework program, which is our source of funding. Our, let's say, proposition is that we complement the national efforts by bringing together researchers into specific fields. We do only fund, I must be very explicit about that, the networking opportunities itself, but not the time actually that people spend. So we do not compensate for people's payrolls. We typically reimburse expenditures for people traveling to conferences, meetings, but also going to training school, a short-term scientific mission where people in a very short period of time can go elsewhere in a lab to conduct research, use the infrastructures, and then come back without necessarily having to move out of your own environment, leaving everything behind. So it's very flexible. And we also provide all different kind of added value services, as we call them. We provide all different kind of trainings for grant holders, so more financial administrative training, communication training, training on how to create an impact with policymakers, and a whole string of training opportunities. And that we organize under the umbrella of the COST Academy that's open to COST participants. We also bring together, let's say, groups of actions that join, let's say, a highly interactive and participative meeting, looking at topics that are high on the European Union's policy agenda. So this is something in addition to their own activities in the actions. So it brings extra value, not only by meeting people from other actions that are active in a similar or adjacent field, but certainly also with other stakeholders outside the actions from the Commission, for example, or other EU-funded projects. So it's a top-up networking. Another opportunity we provide, if I may, and there are several others, but just to conclude, is that we have introduced now for the first time an add-on grant, because the networks that we fund typically run for a period of 4 years. Mm-hmm. And after this period, if you have an action with innovation potential, we provide an add-on grant to explore that and try to bring it to the market, or maybe to mature it to the level that you can apply for a follow-up funding that puts you on an innovation track. So all in all, we have a whole suite of activities, but in the end of the day, the people are the ones who make the difference.
Yeah, you anticipated to my question about the COST Academy. Actually, I was going to ask you about it and how different it is from the rest of academies we have known as an scheme.
I can go in a little bit more detail because I just briefly touched upon it.
Yes.
We started with the COST Academy 2 years ago as a new idea. And it starts with, of course, the COST actions themselves. So typically, COST concludes a contract with an institute that acts as the so-called grant holder on behalf of the action. And the institute has of course, the responsibility to distribute the funds in an appropriate way according to the rules that apply in COST. So we provide training to those people who are taking care of that responsibility. So we have grant holder workshops. We already, from the very beginning, take them by the hand by introducing them to COST. And of course, we try to, as fast as possible, put them on a track that they are completely autonomous. So, and that is something that also enables people to gain experience and also apply that you know, in other parts of their jobs. Just an example. Another example is that we have introduced also about 2 years ago a new role in the cost actions. There are, I have to say upfront, different roles in an action that together drive the leadership capability. So that's typically a chair of an action and a vice chair. There are working groups that need to be led. There is somebody who coordinates the training schools and the short-term scientific missions. But there's also, of course, very much a need for an action to communicate about its results. And science communication should not be something that is coming into play as an afterthought, but should be built in from the beginning. After all, an action runs for 4 years. So if there's anything in between that can be reported as a success story, for example, that would be very beneficial, of course, for the action, but also for us as a funding agency to demonstrate to our friends of the European Commission who pay us that money spent on cost is money well spent. So we give also these science communication managers the opportunity to join communication training. For example, how to go about social media, or how to make a good media briefing for the press. How do you communicate best about a success story, and all these kind of things. So these are just 2 examples that demonstrate that we try to give some extra value to the actions, really trying to empower them to perform at their very best. And that is really the heart of our philosophy. We have a stewardship philosophy that we really try to do our best to make the actions perform. At the end of the day, I always say to the participants, we are your steward, but you are the captain of your ship. You have a journey of 4 years ahead of you. You are the drivers, but we are the ones who are trying to help you in performing as good as possible.
And in total, how many cost actions are estimatedly being funded by the program? And we know that someone with a specific background can apply, but you have a specific criteria for the people to apply for them?
As I speak, we have almost 300 cost actions running. And an action on average now includes 27 countries. So that's the average. But if you count the number of participants, an action can easily grow up to 200 participants. But in the end of the day, of course, our budget is finite. So we have to make sure that the actions have a sizable budget in order to be effective. So here we talk about an annual budget of more or less 130,000, 135,000 euros per year, while clearly repeating that this is to cover for the networking expenditures, so not for the salary expenditures, which is different from grants, for example, research grants that are offered in other parts of the Horizon 2020 framework program.
So, apart from the funding itself, what kind of implicit benefits an applicant or a former awardee can obtain after passing through the program?
Now, then I partly also draw upon your previous question, because yes. I always like to take the example of a researcher in a lab and trying to spread his or her wings at the European plane. And COST offers a very low barrier entry to gaining experience with European projects. The first way to do that is to apply indeed for funding. So we have an open call, and every 8 to 9 months we empty our postal our inbox filled with proposals, and then we evaluate, and at the end of the day we are able to award a number of actions with a contract. So that is one way to join. But you do not need to be part of a proposals group to join. You can actually join a running action as well, and that is very unique. So the idea is that new proposals are converted into an action that starts. The action itself is populated by researchers that are nominated by our national contact points. We call them COST national coordinators. So with all the new actions, the nominations actually happen on a national level. So our national coordinator looks into the national community and sees who can best make a contribution to a particular action. And so that is done in the very beginning, of course, and these people together are nominated to form a so-called management committee. So that's the leadership of the entire action. Actually, if you are a participant and you're not even part of this committee, you're not nominated, you can still participate. You can join an action without having been part of the proposals group in the first place and without being part in a management committee, but you can still enjoy a training school. You can still enjoy a short-term scientific mission. It's just that there has to be some kind of benefit, of course, also for you to participate. So in that sense, it's very easy to look at all the list of actions and their descriptions on our website, cost.eu. And thirdly, the third way, it's often overlooked, but a very valuable one, because our most frequently unanswered question is, how do I write a proposal?
No.
And of course, it's a competition, so we are not going to explain you how to write a proposal. However, if you would like to understand better how a good proposal is written, then of course you can benefit from the possibility to be an evaluator of proposals. And with that, you get an insight on what it takes to put it together and what it looks like. And with that experience, you can, of course, optimize your the chances of success for submitting a proposal yourself in the end. Now, who can apply? So it's the research community as such, typically academics, but also people from business who are in the research, or NGOs even. As a minimum, we would say you need at least a PhD, let's say, appointment. So you do not yet have to have your PhD. It's not a strict requirement, but we also have PhD students who apply. After all, I mentioned in the beginning, we really also have a strategic view on promoting and empowering the careers of young researchers and to retain them for Europe.
Yes, I can say by my own experience, I applied and being awarded by COST Action while I was pursuing my PhD candidature. I was not holding the PhD yet, but I won't, and so I can say it's possible. But I didn't know the possibility of being a reviewer of proposals, to get in touch with the proposals themselves. It's the equivalent as being reviewer of a paper. That's good to know. Is quite curious. And the next question is, we have talked about the short-term scientific missions, but something that is often overlooked because it's not so easy to find on the webpage of the COST Association is the information referring to longer-term scientific missions, if exist. Can you please talk us about them?
Yes, thank you for that question. A short-term scientific mission, as we offer it, provides the opportunity to go abroad for maybe a few weeks, but and we have recently stretched the duration, let's say, of this so-called short-term scientific mission till the end of the grant period. And a grant period is 1 year. So if you, for example, in the second month of that grant period are indeed the lucky one who is chosen, probably following some open expression or a call for expression of interest within the action to go, then until the end, so let's say the remaining 10 months, you can go on this short-term scientific mission. Of course, the budget is limited. So if you go for 2 weeks, then your budget, let's say, per day is more favorable than if you would really stretch it to the end. Because in the end of the day, we have also a finite budget. But this is indeed a possibility to go abroad without necessarily having to leave your job behind, your family behind, your friends behind, your colleagues behind. But it does give you the opportunity to go to another lab and to conduct your experiments, for example, or to learn from your colleagues in other labs. And I must also stress that this is an opportunity for the hosting organization to also benefit from the experience and learnings that the other party brings to the table. Now, these short-term scientific missions can take several weeks or in theory up to a year. This is indeed very different from, let's say, Marie Curie actions. That's a different kind of grant, can actually be complementary. And what we sometimes see is that people who apply for an STSM grant also have been able to secure some additional funding to cover other types of expenditures. So that is possible.
Speaking of the benefits, the last year I attended the meeting Porto. It's a kind of meeting associated with the wave energy cost action I'm participating in. Is there the possibility that people present their proposals on any conference being held by the COST Association without being formally awarded of the association by itself?
Well, all activities, so conferences, meetings, training schools, short-term scientific missions, and so forth, are organized by the action itself. So if the action decides, for example, for a conference grant, because we have special conference grant for young researchers coming from what we call inclusiveness target countries. So these are countries where the research and innovation infrastructure is less developed than maybe elsewhere in Europe. We provide the opportunity to the action to organize a call with their participants based on a certain budget to allow people to go to a conference and to be reimbursed for the travel, for the hotel expenditures, and also maybe there's a conference fee. So that is typically what we provide as an opportunity, as a tool, a networking tool, but it is up to the action itself how to organize this. The same thing for short-term scientific missions. It is good practice that within an action there's a call for expression of interest, and there's a number of people, and based on an application and motivation, the decision is made to award or to reject certain applications. So that is a normal mechanism that works quite well. And we are looking forward to support certainly even further in the years to come.
Yes, I ask this because normally when we want to present a proposal on any conference meeting, we ought to pay for it, and most of the people doesn't have that possibility for, and that's really good to know that COST Association allows them to do that, being reimbursed for presenting their proposals on the scientific missions. That's really good to know. And the last but not least, to close the interview, I would like you to publicize the COST Association, if the term is correct, and how can we find more information about it apart from this interview?
Okay, so you're basically asking me to do my elevator pitch in the end of the interview. With pleasure. So, well, it's clear if you are a researcher or an innovator and you would like to reach out to other colleagues in Europe, but also beyond, we provide you the opportunity to join networks in your field of interest. We hopefully will not only bring you in contact with other people who share the same passion, your peers. We also have very high qualified people who offer their expertise in training schools. The recent Nobel Prize winner in chemistry actually was some time ago also a lecturer in one of the training schools, so you never know who you meet.
Yes,
it's a fantastic opportunity to spread your wings and go to other institutes. It is, I think, a very good opportunity also to be trained. If you're a COST participant, you can enjoy indeed the trainings under the umbrella of the COST Academy. Certainly, I'm confident that it will be an experience that you would also like to share with others. And I stop here because I can go on for several minutes, but then it's no longer an elevator pitch. So thank you so much, Brenda, for this opportunity, and I wish you all the best for your COST action.
No, thanks to you, Ronald, for accepting to attend this interview or talking about the COST action. That's the real purpose of this interview, having the possibility to know more about the COST action and letting my audience know about them as well. And again, thank you so much for accepting. And
my pleasure.
I wish you the best. Bye-bye. And before we go, here I present one of the many success stories related to the linkage with COST Association.
I would like to talk to you about my experience in participating in STSM of COST actions. My first experience was in fact when I was doing my PhD, and I had the opportunity to go to Germany and work for 2 weeks with a different research group and a completely different institution. And it was in fact an added value, not only for my PhD work, but also as a personal experience working in a foreign country with different people, with a different language. Was definitely 2 weeks. It seems like several months of experience in my country, or nothing compared. And now I can also talk you about the experience of other people, because now I'm the coordinator of the STSM of a COST desk, in desk COST, and we had every year, not this in particular, not this year because it's a special one, but the last 3 years we have been given STSM at least for 3 or 4 people per year, and successful stories of them are really inspiring people. So I completely advise you to try once in your research life to get this opportunity that COST is giving to people, so you can have a professional and personal incredible experience. So don't let this opportunity go out, and good luck for your research and for your life.
Thanks for watching. Do not forget liking, commenting, and subscribing for more content.